As the game master in a tabletop role-playing game like Dungeons and Dragons, you have a lot of control over the game, the world, the story, the intertwined experience of yourself and the players at your table. The players are rolling the dice, they're making the decisions, but you are the one who ultimately gets to say yes or no to what they bring to the table and what they do with their characters at the table. Now, while this is difficult to follow through on, I am a firm believer that a problem player is just someone who experiences the game differently than you do. What did I do when a player who I've had some minor problems with before comes forth with a character that I absolutely loathe? I do not want to run with it. I can tell that something bad is going to happen because of this. Do I say no immediately? Or do I remember that there is a journey before the destination, that we have strength before we have weaknesses? This is a story of how I said yes to one player's possibly awful decision, and it wound up making the longest running and possibly best campaign of my professional career so far. And in order to tell this story, we are going to have to talk about time magic. The Chronergy Wizard is a wizard subclass. They get it at 2nd level. It was introduced to us in the Wildmount book, a source book made in conjunction with the Critical Role crew for their world. It involves twisting the magic of Dunamis, that, as far as I know, is unique to Matt Mercer's creations. What does Chronergist do? Well, a whole bunch of abilities that I don't think are all that harsh. But why does Croner just get put at the top of some people's, best wizards list? Why is it a ban in some tables? Let's talk about Chronal Shift. At 2nd level, you can magically exert limited control over the flow of time around a creature. As a reaction, after you or a creature you can see within 30 feet of you makes an attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw, you can force the creature to re-roll. You make this decision after you see whether the roll succeeds or fails. The target must use the result of the second roll. You can use this ability twice, and you regain any expended uses when you finish a long rest. Now, why would I have a big problem with this? Well, we can start by addressing the elephant in the room. The player also chose a race called the Loxodon, an elephant-like creature. No, just kidding. Their Loxodon choice was actually cool. I didn't mind it at all. But let's talk about the real elephant in the room. Time travel is dangerous to a story, any story. I could spend a whole hour just talking about good and bad time travel movies and books and TV shows, but we're not going to. I think we all understand that time travel, even though it can be very cool, is very dangerous to play with. And going ahead and saying time magic in any form exists in your game is going to invite this kind of danger to your narrative and to the experience. But let's get back to D&D 5e mechanics. Despite the many official books and countless resources of homebrew that has been made about 5th edition D&D over the years, the game is built on a simple concept. The DM describes stuff going on, you, the player, decides, I would like to do this thing, please, and then you roll a 20-sided die. You add on your bonuses, you give the number, and based on that number, the DM says, yes, that works, or no, it doesn't work. That is, unless you have some kind of ability that can change the outcome of that roll. For example, at 3rd level, a College of Lore Bard subclass gets the ability Cutting Words. It says, also at 3rd level, you learn how to use your wit to distract, confuse, and otherwise sap the confidence and competence of others. When a creature that you can see within 60 feet of you makes an attack roll, an ability check, or a damage roll, you can use your reaction to expend one of your uses of Bardic Inspiration, rolling a Bardic Inspiration die and subtracting the number rolled from the creature's roll. You can choose to use this feature after the creature makes its roll, but before the DM determines whether the attack roll or ability check succeeds or fails, or before the creature deals damage. The creature is immune if it can't hear you, if it's immune to being charmed, blah, blah, blah. So why does this matter? Because we make the roll, and before the DM says this works or it doesn't work, or here's the damage, you can affect it and quickly say, hang on, I want to yell at this person, causing their sword attack to miss from the sick burn that I got in on him. And that's cool. I don't have a problem with this. Can it be annoying in the situation? Can a player wait till the last possible second to use their reaction? Yes, but it's all within the game. It flows with the logic of how the game works. Let's look at another example, although we're getting to something that a lot of tables and a lot of DMs will also ban. The lucky feat says you have inexplicable luck, you have 3 luck points. Whenever you make an attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw, you can spend 1 luck point to roll an additional d20. You can choose to spend one of your luck points after you roll the die, but before the outcome is determined. You choose which of the d20s is used for the attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. You can also spend 1 luck point when an attack roll is made against you. Roll a d20, and then choose whether the attack uses the attacker's roll or yours. Very cool. So in this one, you're not exactly sure what the outcome is going to be, but you can roll lucky and you can say, I would like to use the 5 that I rolled rather than whatever it is that you rolled over there on your side of the DM screen. This is all fine. Do I love the lucky feat? No, I don't. But it doesn't break the game. We are not retconning anything. Stuff flows forward with the story. So here's where we get to the part that hurts me. We are saying, yes, we are moving forward with the story. More importantly, if you are approaching your RPG hobby with any kind of theater or improv experience, you have heard the term yes and. You take what someone else is giving you, in this case a player, and you say, yes, and we are going to build with that and continue on the scene. So we have something that is not only messing with the core aspects of the game by saying you can see what happens and then you can retcon it and go back and change the die roll, but we are changing something that changes the way I run my game, the way my brain works, having to stop my brain moving forward and creating the scene in my head so I can describe it to other people. This is a problem that I think is backed up, and I very reasonably could have said, I'm sorry, player. I know you were looking forward to this professionally run game that you've already spent money on, but this is just a terrible choice for your character. It's going to ruin the game, or at the very least cause a stress on the game that is going to distract from the rest of things. It would have been reasonable, I think, for me to say, let's not do it. But despite some issues I had had with this player, I care about them as a person. I want them to have a good time. My game store wants to keep the investment of them coming in week after week. And the pandemic has started. We are in deep quarantine. They're already coming to this game on their computer, and I don't want to take one more thing away from them by saying, I'm sorry, this cool character concept you have, I am saying no to. So what do? I say yes, and now I have to figure out a way for this to all work moving forward. Enough boring mechanic stuff out of the way, let's meet our party. Our colorful cast of D&D player characters. We have Vith, the lizard folk cleric of the Forge, Tempest, our tiefling warlock, Pact of the Fiend, Ton, the half-orc paladin, Oath of Vengeance, Alora, the half-elf druid, Circle of the Moon, Hayden, the wood elf paladin, 2 paladins in the party, Oath of Redemption, and, most relevant to today's conversation, Kiba, the Loxodon wizard, Chronergy specialist. At the start of the adventure, before anyone met, I had sent out my little emails and said, okay, here's what you'll need to know for your character. Here's some of the things you can choose. Tell me if your character has a mentor. The mentor is going to get invited to a feast to go slay a dragon. You are along for the ride. You are essentially their sidekick. And not every player took me up on this offer, but Kiba's player did. He said, yeah, it would make sense if my wizard was an apprentice and he was learning the wizarding ropes from a better wizard with a more sizable spell book. So for this, I created Omaz. And I decided that Omaz was going to be a gnome who knew a little bit about time magic, that this was a burgeoning new magic in this world. This was my first crucial decision as a DM in how I was going to handle time magic in my world. I knew that I didn't like it. I knew that I wasn't prepared for it to be this massive, big thing in the world. So I decided, let's make it unique to this player and his character. There's just one other person in the world who knows about time magic, and they're learning it together. This is going to increase the bond that Kiba's player had put on his character sheet. Cut forward to the end of the first session. It turns out that the feast was a trap. All of the mentors are being slain once they announce that they are enemies of the dragon, because this was all a scheme by the dragon. Only the first, second level apprentices are able to make it out of there, and that is where we get the adventure and our party moving forward. Now we have a bond that has not quite been severed, because while Omaz, the mentor, has been killed by the villains of the story, this is something that is going to continue moving forward. It also means that there is no one in my world that can teach Kiba more time magic. That means that he is going to have to learn it more himself. This is good. We are putting more agency in the hands of the player character and the player who is running them. This also means I know that the player is probably going to want to undo this terrible event moving forward with their time magic. We are going to be able to talk about the limits of the time magic that they now have to learn themselves. All of this is excellent story and roleplay fodder that is perfect for the game. Other player characters and their players also had conflicting opinions about how time magic should work, about what power Kiba is able to unleash, and the good or dark path that could lead him on. And whenever this would happen, whenever someone talked about, Kiba, what are you doing? Kiba, how could you just change around time? Kiba, what if the evil dragon we were slaying, she almost took your time magic away from you? What would have happened then? Anytime these conversations happened, I sat back and listened. This is wonderful. These are the kind of conversations you dream of having, you dream of setting up. And in this case, all it took was me saying yes to time magic being introduced. Now that the party is coming back, they have named their party the Fulcrum. They have made a symbol. They have paid outside artists to draw their party, and it was really cool. You know, this is a really tight-knit group, so they have kept coming back, and I want to keep giving them a story, and I want to give them something that is unique to them. Lots of other storylines and side quests evolved from all 6 of the party members, but it kept coming back to Kiba and what he is able to do with his unique power of chronergy. This is excellent. In out of game time, we were able to keep running with the Fulcrum for almost a year. And then I say, okay, it's time for me to open up yet another game for my paying adult clients. So I am opening up this new game starting on the same campaign. You go to the feast gets betrayed, the apprentices are the party moving forward. And I get a couple signups from new players, and then suddenly all the spots are filled. And it was filled by members of the Fulcrum who wanted to play a second game with me. And while I'm very flattered, this is not the worst problem to have. People who want to pay twice to play a professional D&D game with you, it presents a problem because I'm using the same campaign. And I tell them, guys, look, this is not going to be a new story. This is going to be the same story you've been through, but with your new characters. I don't know what to tell you. And they said, oh, that's fine. Even if it is that, we get to run through that awesome adventure again. We're down. And I say, cool. But in the back of my head, I'm thinking, this is increased pressure, because not only do I have to run this game and make it a good experience for the 2 or 3 new people who are still playing, but I have to make a satisfying experience for those players from the first party who want to play in it again. What new information do I provide them to make the story more interesting? And it turns out that there's a way to run multiple timelines in this adventure because I said yes to one player's choice of Chronergy. Let's meet our party. We have Alyssa, the High Elf Necromancy Wizard, Aelwyn, the High Elf Swashbuckler Rogue, Garon Stouthorns, the Minotaur Shepherd Druid and Wild Magic Barbarian, not the first multi-class, Jagan Lightmane, the Leonin Echo Knight Fighter and Light Cleric, Malishka, the Fire Genasi Artillerist Artificer, and Perseverance, aka Percy, the Tiefling Draconic Sorcerer and Undead Warlock. This party is also invited to a feast, or rather, they go as the sidekicks of their mentors. The mentors are doomed, they are going to be slain. I play out the scene by the end of the first session, and when I describe all the mentors being killed, I also describe Vith, Alora, Kiba, etc. from the Fulcrum. Now, 2 players in the new party have no idea what's going on. To them, these are just more dead tokens on the board. But for the other 4 players who played the characters that are now dead in front of them, I wish I could have recorded their faces on the stream because they were trying to hold it together between their in-character knowledge of, nope, just more dead people, and out-of-game knowledge of, oh my god, that is my character dead in this room. What is going on? This prompted 1 or 2 of them to ask me post-game, hey, what's going on? Should we be concerned with that? And my response to that is, no. Why would you be concerned? That was just more dead people in the room. What do you mean it was your other characters from the game where time magic is involved? Do you think that some powerful force is looking down on you and moving the strings in different directions? Why would you think that? Cut back in time to the Fulcrum. Kiba has been trying to ascertain more spell knowledge from his dead mentor's spellbook. This is called Omaz's Octahedron. I have stylized it as a puzzle box meant to hold all of Omaz's spells and hide his deepest secrets of time magic, something that he was trying to uncover. Kiba's player asks me, is there a god of knowledge that Kiba can pray to get some help with unlocking his dead mentor's spells? I didn't plan this at all, but I did happen to have from the 10 great dragons that are revered as gods in this world, one dragon with powers over fire and ice. His name is Altor, and I said, this is the god of knowledge. Yes, you can pray to him. And from this, I began to concoct the ultimate scheme of this world. Mend Realm, which you may have noticed from my Crafting Meaningful Worlds video, has a big problem. That big problem was known as the fracture. It is the thing that warped all the knowledge in the land, erased all the memories from its inhabitants, and essentially reset the world 200 years ago. Several of the player characters, including Kiba most vocally, hate that this happened and wonder if there is a way they can reverse the fracture and get back the knowledge that was lost. And it turns out that Altor, the god of knowledge, wants this most of all. And Kiba, through Omaz's Octahedron, holds the power of time magic that Kiba has just allowed him access to by asking for divine help. What else is happening in the Fulcrum? Well, you may have noticed from the party description that everyone is a spellcaster, and some of the players have been asking me out of game if it is possible for them to write up their own custom spells. I think this is a great idea. It's something that I haven't played with, and I want to create a narrative opportunity with it. What if Omaz's Octahedron, the spell book of Kiba's dead mentor, held a custom spell that Omaz had written, and they use this as the catalyst for their own spells? Whenever Kiba is able to unlock the last layer of Omaz's Octahedron, the highest level of spells that Omaz created, and he does this with the assistance of Altor, who he has prayed to as a god of knowledge to help him do this, he uncovers Omaz's window through time. 6th level divination, casting time 1 minute, range self, components, verbal somatic material, a spyglass, magnifying glass, or set of bifocals worth at least 1,000 gold pieces, which the spell consumes, duration up to 10 minutes, classes, wizard, sorcerer, bard. You select a designated point in the past and create a window to see into it. The window is no larger than 5 feet in any direction and appears as a solid pane of transparent glass that fades into blue mist around the edges. The window has an AC of 10, 1 hit point, and immunity to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage that is not magical. If broken, the spell immediately ends. You and any creatures on the other side of the window can see and hear clearly using your regular senses as if speaking through a non-magical pane of glass. This allows you to witness events and even carry on a conversation across time. In addition, non-living, non-magical matter can pass through the window. This would allow you to drop an item into the past, so your own hand would not be able to pass through the window to the other side. This is the custom spell that I have created. This is also my way to control how time magic and potentially time travel can work. This is also the perfect spell to enact my ultimate evil plan as Altor. Altor is going to gain the knowledge of this spell, which is just enough for him to go back in time, witness when the feast is happening, and say these meddling Fulcrum members are too much to handle, so I am going to take care of them in a different timeline. Not this one, but the other timeline, which happens to be the game happening on another night of the week. I am going to kill them. Not only do I make this happen, but I put it in front of the party members during a combat so that they have to watch and try to stop Altor from doing this, from killing their own characters in another game, but they are unable to get there. Altor succeeds, and in another timeline, the Fulcrum is dead. They have only this timeline to try to stop him from stopping the fracture from ever happening, so that they can continue having their own world unspoiled by this dragon god. And I could tell you the rest of the story, how they fought and defeated Altor using all of their combined might, their teamwork, and their custom magic. But no, I don't think I will. Now, is all of this more than a little bit convoluted and silly? Yeah, sure. But what matters is this story came about organically based on what my players were doing, what they were asking me, what they were telling me, what they were showing me through their characters' choices, and me responding to it and saying, okay, here's the plot of not just this story, but 2 different campaigns going on. This wouldn't have happened if I wasn't able to say yes to a decision that I didn't particularly enjoy. Moral of the story: recognize your weaknesses and blind spots as a DM, and consider that when a player comes to you and gives you a cheat code on how to make the adventure cool to them by telling you exactly what they think is awesome about the character they made, maybe try to use that. Maybe try to say yes and accept that magic can be silly, even when it doesn't have to do with time travel and dice changes. I hope this video was useful. I hope you learned something, and most of all, I hope you are able to turn the next curveball your player throws you into a home run. Yes, I'm too cheesy to function. I hope you have a nat 20 day. Bye bye.